Hey, everybody. Welcome to our brand new episode of Pores and Perspectives with Harry Dunn. Obviously, you all know me, but I'm really glad to be joined with a good friend of mine. And I really mean that. I use that term good friend. A lot of people say it all the time, but I really mean it because he's kind of an asshole. And if you don't have an asshole as a friend, then are they really a good friend? So, my friend, the great Brian Karem, thank you for joining me today on my on a new episode of Pores and Perspective. Happy to have you on.
Happy to be here. Just for correction, I'm a dick. I fuck assholes.
Well, there you go. He speaks for himself, y'all. So, as you all know, on Pores and Perspectives, we talk about what's going on in the world today, but we couldn't do it without our lovely spirits. And today, when I tell my guests, when I have them on, I say I ask you to come on with an open mind and bring your perspectives, and also bring your favorite spirit. So I know Brian has his, so I'm going to go ahead and show. So I am drinking wild turkey also. But as you might see, this is a different expression of it. And it's called Unforgotten. And it's one of the blender's fancier things. So I feel like I'm a fancy guy, or at least I'm gonna pretend to be right now. I'm gonna go ahead and pour me a little beverage. What you drinking, Brian?
Well, I've given up drinking, so I'm only drinking Wild Turkey 101, and I'm not pouring it into anything other than my mouth.
That's the way I like. Good day, man. Hey, cheers to you, my friend.
To you, my brother.
Cheers to you. All right, yeah, there you go. So look, let's get into it. The government shutdown. It is we're in what day five, six, whatever,
I don't
depending
know,
on whenever day
58,000.
people are, yeah, whenever people are listening to it. Um, it's still going on. What is going on? Do you see this coming to an end anytime soon?
Nope, and I don't think Donald Trump wants it to come to an end. He loves it because, he gets to lay people off and shut down the government, which is what he wanted to do to begin with. This is
Yeah,
his crystal knot, this knock, this is his, burning this is his moment. He tried to make
yeah,
the death of Charlie Kirk his moment. Now this is his moment, much as the Nazis had theirs. So,
yeah,
that's what he's up to, and look, part of it, all right, part of what the Republicans are saying is true. It is a clean CR, but
yeah,
they have forgotten the most important part of that clean CR, the expiration of the health
yeah,
benefits for Americans. And this
yeah,
isn't for illegal immigrants. This is if you show up to a hospital and you cannot pay, they still have to take care of you. They don't let you die in a parking lot because you can't pay. These are true emergency room events, and they conveniently forget that because the Republicans aren't about health care. They're about no care. They don't
yeah.
care. That's
About no
the
care. I feel like if they wanted to do that, they have to repeal the Hippocratic Oath, because every doctor or healthcare professional has taken that first do no harm. You have to help save people, and I'm glad that you brought up the lie that has been manufactured by the Republicans. Listen, the Republicans are really good at lying. They're really good at it, and they're good
they
at
got to be good
messing.
at something. They sure aren't good at governing. They might as well be good at lying. They do that often enough.
They
I'm
do it
telling
all
you,
the
I don't
time.
know what the Hippocratic Oath is. I don't own a hippo. I'm the best. Thank you for your attention to this matter. We're
Thank you for
going
your
forward.
That is the funniest thing that he started doing in his little sign-offs. "Thank you for your attention to this matter."
Yeah, he
Like, man,
sounds like a bill collector. That's
yeah,
a
that but no, I'm glad that you brought it up, because the illegal alien thing, that's what first of all, I gotta address illegal alien because they're undocumented immigrants. They use the term illegal aliens to dehumanize and demoralize and just take away any type of value that these immigrants, for whatever reason, are not documented yet, and that's a whole different discussion. Shoot, we can
we
have
could
a
go
whole
on
different podcast
hours
about
for
that.
that.
You can talk about reasons of that, but they're undocumented immigrants. And the thing is, I did some research and I asked some lawmakers that are my friends, and I asked them, why are they keep saying this? Where did that come from? Because nobody wants, no Democrat that I've heard is saying we want to fund that. So that goes back to what Donald Trump passed, the big beautiful bill. What it's called, but obviously it's the big ugly bill. It's ugly. But what he did with that is the Republican now in states that do provide health care for undocumented immigrants, such as California, for example. California uses California generated income revenue, nothing related to the federal government. It was all state generated, and they used that to pay for whatever type of health care for undocumented immigrants. In the big beautiful bill, they allowed the Republicans put in there that any state that uses state funds will be punished, and the Democrats want to repeal that provision because why are you punishing states for using their own money to do something? So I'm glad that you brought that up about the undocumented and well,
Let's
as they
drink to
say,
that.
illegal aliens. Definitely got to drink to that. So I want to touch on it real quick because you said you don't believe that it's going to happen soon because Donald Trump doesn't want to. Why is that the bigger part of Donald Trump's plan? They all talk about how they are, state rights and this and that, and they want to, but a lot of stuff that they're doing go against what they say about they want to have rights to the states and we can look about what's happening in Portland and the National Guard in Chicago and
Well,
yeah. So
yeah,
what is Donald Trump doing there? What is this all part of a bigger plan?
of course. And it's not necessarily Donald Trump's bigger plan. It's the 2025 bigger plan. You see,
Mm.
Donald Trump these days is about as cogent as a slug. So let's drink to that first of all.
That's what drink to that.
He has the mental acumen of a sponge, and
Yeah.
his leash is being held by Stephen Miller, Project 2025, Tom Homan, Kristi Noem, Pete, I have to have a makeup mirror in the Pentagon, Hegseth, and these people have one goal in mind, and that is the subjugation of the masses. Yeah, you can call it fascism, you can call it authoritarianism, I call it a pain in my ass, and what
Yeah.
it actually is, and what they're actually doing is to try to gin up anger so that Donald Trump and his administration can invoke the Insurrection Act, and
Okay.
therefore make sure that in 2028 he gets to stay in the White House because I guarantee you if he survives, and that's not a given, if he
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
survives to 2028, he wants to run again. In fact, Donald Trump does not want to leave that White House until he's carted out in a coffin. And by the way, he will probably want to stay and lying in state in that big bastard ballroom he's building and
In the
charging
White House.
$1,000 a head for you to see his carcass so his family can
Mm.
still make out. This is he's trying to create violence. You've got ICE officials rappelling out of helicopters into neighborhoods in Chicago. You have
Yeah.
I was in Portland, Oregon recently. It's about as dangerous as a high school football game on a Friday
Yeah.
night. There's nothing
Yeah.
there but peace and love and, the weed's good. So, I
I saw a report. A judge said, listen, there are 25 people outside and an inflatable capybara. Like, so you want to send the National Guard in or
yes,
for
so they can pick flowers and pick up garbage. That's
what like what
like
so 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 you bring up something that's scary to people. Donald Trump, the Insurrection Act. What exactly is so we've all heard it. What is the insurrection? Can the, and I want you to touch on this because a lot of people think Donald Trump wants to cancel elections. Is there
no.
any way that Donald Trump can cancel elections?
No, he doesn't want to cancel the election. He wants the appearance of democracy. So he wants the election, but he wants the results guaranteed before the election occurs, much like
Mm,
they do in Russia. That's I saw the Russian comic. He
mm.
get up on stage one time and tell the joke. He goes, you all do things so sloppy in the United States. You go into the election, you don't know who's won. In Russia, we have the joy of walking in and knowing who's won before we cast our vote. So, that's what he wants.
That's
Efficient,
what he
more
wants.
efficient government. That's all he's about. So,
But let
yeah,
me ask
it's
let me ask you a question then, because so a lot of people have said, and I'll say the Democrats we've said, you know what, 2026, that's how we stop Donald Trump. You control one chamber of the House. And then the people's rebuttal, like, well, are there going to be elections in 2026? I would say the states run the election. They are state run. It's not the federal government does not run the elections. And also very importantly, Republicans depend on blue states for some of their seats. In California, for example, like they said, they're redrawing the maps. In New York, there are several Republicans that benefit in a blue state that are run by Democrats that Republicans
I'll
benefit.
drink to that.
We'll trip. Man, you know what? Listen, I love it, but we got a lot of things to drink to right.
Oh, dude, that's it. I just remember when we were in Chicago.
Oh, listen. Hey, listen, let me tell you, with Brian and Tom, we had the opportunity. We hung out at the DNC in Chicago, obviously under much happier times. And a time was had. I'll just leave it
A
at
splendid time was guaranteed and had by all. Yes. Yes,
as a
indeed.
time. And
And
we had our friend Michael Cohen with us,
Eric
and
Swalwell.
Eric Swalwell,
And
our
then there
friend
was
Eric
some dude
Swalwell.
we didn't know, but he was drunk and joined us, and, so that was fun.
Hey, like I just said, a time was had,
Yeah.
and and that's all I got to say about that. Thank you for your attention to this matters.
Yeah, that's the best time. No one's ever had a time like this. I'm just saying many people are saying, "Unbelievable,
Right,
unbelievable."
right. And so a lot of people know you from you famously just asking the question. And that got you in a lot of trouble at the White House because you asked the question. What was the question that you asked?
Would you accept a peaceful transfer of power? But that was the last one. That one went viral. But so did when I asked him when was he going to admit that he lost the election. Did he ever go to Epstein Island? He said he didn't drink, and I asked him, "Did you ever try anything else?" There were a number of questions that seemed to piss him off. One day we were sitting there, and I started asking a question. He goes, "Sit down, sit down." I go, "I am sitting down." And he goes, "Yeah, you are. Okay, go on. Ask your question." So he and I have a past.
Well,
Um,
so yeah, so that brings me up. So are you are in graces enough to get a White House pass? Are you in graces to get credentialed to be at the White House,
well,
especially in this moment, right, where if you have anything to say negative against the president, then you are not.
I have my hard pass.
Wait, wait,
Now,
wait. Let
whether
me
or
see
not
that,
they'll
sir.
let me in,
What's the expiration date on that, sir?
well, that's a good question. I haven't used it in a month because I've been shooting a documentary and
Yes.
editing a documentary that you're in, by the way, and you
Yes,
know.
yes, yes. We're gonna talk. Come back to hold that for
Okay,
1 second.
we'll put a pin in that.
Yes,
So I've
put a
been
put a
doing
pin in it.
that, and now I've got to go back to the White House, and I've been in touch with them about making sure that my hard pass works because yes, let's drink to that.
Yeah.
God damn it. Um, so yeah, that was good. So
That was a good one.
yeah, ooh, I'm telling you. I'm going back, and we'll see because I've been out for more than a month, and we have the shutdown, and I only have one Wrangler working right now. So if they've turned off my press pass because I haven't been there for a month, chances are I won't get in. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to raise hell if I don't, because
Yeah.
I'm this is my beat, this is what I do. Let me in so I can shout at the president, please.
I got a question when it comes to that. So everybody remembers Jim Acosta famously had his press credential yanked by because the
So
president
did
didn't.
I.
And yeah, I know, but Jim Acosta, he took it. Did you go to court also for that for your
3
credential?
ti He went once, I went 3 times, and I beat that fat fuck in court 3 fucking times.
Well, listen, you keep on bringing up these good points, you're gonna be hammered. So sure, I got to drink to that one. No, that is very good. But listen, you mentioned something about a documentary, and I remember just happened to be in DC and playing a small part in that. Talk to us about your documentary. What do you got going on, and when the hell is it coming out? I
Well,
feel
it
like I recorded that thing 20 years ago.
you
When is
you
it
you
coming out?
recorded it at the beginning of the administration. What we wanted to do was
Yeah,
wait and see after 100 or 2, but things have changed so much where we've
so much.
changed that documentary about 3 times. But we went for the first 3 or 4 days of the Trump administration, shot in the White House, shot his inauguration, talked to his fans and friends and relatives and family, and showed him, walking around going, "I'm the best, I'm the great," all that
Yeah,
shit. And
yeah.
we wanted to compare and contrast to what was promised, what the people said they wanted from him, and what we've actually seen. So we've reached a point of epic overload. I could do probably 15 or 16 episodes, but we're trying to condense it down to a solid hour so
Okay.
we can and make it palatable for the masses so you don't have to binge watch it for 18 days or some shit. So that's where we've been cutting it down so it'll fit. It will be It's gonna be in festivals. It'll be, I think we have 2 networks that are talking to us about putting it there, and we wanna put it in theaters too, so it's eligible for the Oscars.
Hey, that now we talking, man. Listen, man, I am rooting for you, and I'm so glad that you're doing that because, like I said, we did it day one. Of That's when we had the opportunity to walk and talk
And
along the
that
mall.
that remember the moron that interrupted us?
My gosh, and you know what? To talk about the moron that interrupted us, a lot of people, Donald Trump. See, you know me. I'm
Yeah.
optimistic, or I try to be optimistic about things, Brian. Especially when the hell that a lot of people are facing, and it's real. People feel, but I try to find the optimism in this. Donald Trump never has to face the American voters again. Now, like you said earlier, will he leave in 2028? I don't know. That's a whole, like I said, that's a whole different discussion.
Only if they drag his ass out in a freaking
I listen,
ambulance.
I agree, but
He'll
Donald
be on
Trump
a
right now,
stretcher. Either
he
that, the other, honestly, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to
no,
interrupt, but
go ahead, go.
honestly, the other scenario that you really should be on the lookout for is boss, the plane, JD Vance.
Ah,
And at some point in time, if there's a law of diminishing returns with Trump, 2025 has gotten all he wants out of him. If he diminishes to the point where he's babbling incoherently in his soup, which could be next week,
yeah,
there could be a move by JD Vance and the members of the cabinet to 25th Amendment his ass and put JD Vance in there. I don't believe that's beyond the pale. Now, I know a lot of people are going, oh, you're wildly speculating. But this dude's 79 years old. He's in bad
yeah,
health.
yeah,
And I remind everyone that this is one of the first times the first time I got into it with him was when, the immigrant policy where they put kids in cages.
yeah,
But
yeah,
the second time was that the first time he had a press conference about his health, and they released a whole lot of information, and I'm looking through it. Now, I'm not a doctor, but I sat there and I looked at it and I said, "Huh, when my dad had heart disease, some of this stuff was on his chart too."
mm,
Sanjay Gupta, who is a doctor, was
that,
standing next to me and said, "Yeah, that's heart disease." So
mm,
that was what, 7.5, 8 years ago? This guy
yeah,
hadn't gotten any better, and
yeah,
you see the cankles, you see the makeup, you see him slurring his speech. At some point in time, and I think it's coming sooner rather than later, we're
okay.
gonna face that scenario of what happens with a sycophantic cabinet who kisses his ass every time he walks in there, and JD Vance. Who's gonna tell him it's time for this guy to go?
See,
I think
that's
it's possible.
that's kind of what brings me to. So Donald Trump doesn't have to face the voters again. However,
He didn't even have to face his wife again. I'm telling you, tough room, you know?
However, his enablers in Congress will have to face the voters again when Donald Trump is no longer there. And, I've prayed.
Prosecution they're gonna have to face.
This is true because Donald Trump's
Stephen
gonna have to
Miller,
pardon everybody in that damn cabinet and every one of his allies because several of them are committing crimes on a daily, on an hourly basis.
take a look at the cabinet meetings. You see stuff in those cabinet meetings you won't see in meetings in North Korea, China, or Russia. They're laughing at him by demanding that type of fealty. And
Yeah.
these people are playing along because they have their own agenda.
Well, but also, so that bring they re, people aren't. Mike Johnson and name any Republican in Congress right now are
Mike
Kate
Sneaky Pete
also is there.
Johnson,
They're afraid of him. Donald Trump has regardless of how his health and everything, Donald Trump commands something out of the MAGA base. JD Vance does not. People are not afraid of JD Vance. They're scared of Donald Trump. And JD Vance could be a more competent Donald Trump, but he does not command the fear of God that Donald Trump has instilled in some of these Republicans. So is this an opportunity for an off ramp? Like you said, when they talk about the 25th Amendment, is there an opportunity for an off ramp here with Republicans? Or am I just being optimistic because, God, dog, I need a win. I need a win somewhere. I'll win anywhere.
the Democrats do need a win, and I've said there are two parties in this country, two political parties. One has
Yeah.
no heart, and one has no head. And when it comes to the no head, the Democrats have all they actually institute the best policies, but they sometimes they're too regimented. They're not the big tent that they want us
Yeah,
to who they are, and they preach to you. And Donald Trump will listen to you. Now he's gonna grift you, but he's
yeah.
hey, I'm
He'll
with you.
pretend that he's listening, right?
But yeah, but the communication aspect of the Democratic Party woefully lacking. They need a win. If they're going to get a win, here's what I recommend, and this goes back. Get involved. Don't just bitch about it. Vote. I get tired of
Yeah.
hearing people bitch, and I go, "Did you vote? Oh no, it doesn't make a difference." Well,
Mm,
then get the fuck out of here.
yeah,
Get involved, and it isn't just
yeah,
voting. It's driving elderly people to the polls. It's getting involved at the precinct level. It's knocking on doors. It's being part of phone banks. It's volunteering to be precinct captains and
God,
working to
you
all
are
of that
preaching
shit.
right now, man. Take a drink because you are
Yeah,
preaching right now. You are
that's
preaching, man. Man, you're preaching right now. Wow, man, you
and
are
and
preaching
when the Democrats do that,
under the water too.
when the Democrats, I haven't got my water yet. If I breathe too much, it's going to be fire. But if the Democrats would do that, the Republicans wouldn't stand. Take a
Yeah.
look at the voter turnout. We were
Hmm.
very happy with 60% voter turnout in the last election. That means
Yeah.
a super minority of 31% told the rest, the 70% what the hell the government was gonna be.
Yeah.
If you can't get off your ass and vote, you've got no right to bitch. I think we should have it should be mandatory voting, but more than that, I think we should have a day off for voting. I think they should
And you
make
know who
it
proposed that?
easier to
The
vote.
Democrats.
Yes.
The John Lewis Voting Rights Act.
One of my favorite people of all time when I met him, he looked at me and, Baltimore guy, and I knew him, off and on over the years, but one of the last times I met him was after I or saw him was after I got kicked out of the White House for asking him what the hell are they doing with, immigrant children. And he just looks at me, he goes, Karem, good trouble. And I said,
Good
thanks.
trouble.
Thank
Big
you,
trouble.
brother.
We love I love John Lewis. I love
I
everything that he
miss him.
respect. I have good trouble tattooed on me right there as an homage to him. And
Well,
actually
he
this
was the one who called me the honey badger of the White House, press corps. He goes, "Honey badger just don't give a shit." And I go,
yeah,
"Ex
he's right. You are, and which is why I'm glad to have you as a guest because I know you'll give it to us straight and unfiltered. But I want to bring it to this, and I want to close talking about this. We got to know each other because of the darkest day of my life, the worst day of my life on January
one
6th,
of mine too."
which was I was just about to say, which is arguably probably one of yours also. And we had the opportunity to, unfortunately, need counsel, need representation, need protection, and we share a commonality. We share a person. We share a lawyer by the name of our great friend Mark
Rick
Zaid.
Zaid.
And Mark Zaid is doing the Lord's work out there and just representing people who are unfairly targeted, whistleblowers, people that just want to speak truth to power and get into good trouble. But I want to talk about you on January 6th because I didn't know a lot about your story. You were on the grounds on January 6th, but you were actually there as a official member of the press, not these wannabe guys with a camera and a GoPro and that said they're media. Tell us a little about your experience on January 6th.
Well, at the time, I was the senior White House correspondent for Playboy magazine.
Playboy magazine. All right, all
And
right.
and to
How
tell you how good
spice to that?
that's all right, let's drink to that. So, um that day, oh, by the way, Donald Trump would never call me by my name. He would always
Mm.
say, "Playboy, what do you got for me, Playboy?" That's how he referred to me for first administration.
Oh
And I
man.
will lay claim to creating chopper talk because he walked out of the White House in March of his first year, and he hadn't talked to us. As you know, most presidents wave and keep going. Well, he did
Yeah.
too and pretended like he couldn't hear us. And that day he walked out of the White House. He had that dark suit jacket on, the white shirt, red tie. His hair is blowing in the breeze, the belly's out, and for all the world to me, he looked like Rodney Dangerfield. So I turned and I said,
Look at
"Huh,
me. Me?
tough room, isn't it? Tough room." And he turns around and goes, "Playboy, what do you got?" So that started it. So on January 6th, after fighting with this guy for 4 years, I showed up on January 6th. I started out the day at the White House and was, hassled by some protesters. And at that point in time, they weren't rioters. It was early in the morning. and there was
Yeah.
this big fat white guy from Tennessee. He goes, "I know who you are, Karem. You're going down." I'm going, "Yeah, I'm going to the White House. If you want to start some shit, go for it." And the guy I knew from Secret Service, I looked at him. He goes, "I got this," and I said, "Thanks." We walked in. We heard. I went and heard the speech on the ellipse where they
Yeah.
said, "Trial by combat," and
That was
Donald
Rudy
Trump,
Giuliani.
yeah,
Yeah.
Giuliani, and they started the march down to the Capitol. So I got there. Now, everyone has seen those pictures of the people climbing up the walls. Now,
Yeah.
we walk up to where the wall is. I had an AP reporter that I know had been hassled, and there was another reporter I know had his camera taken from him, beaten. They were threatening reporters.
Yeah.
So I'm standing there. Now, I have a low threshold for stupidity and even a lower threshold for foolishness. So these idiots,
Figures you cover Donald Trump.
yeah, which always meant me and Donald were fighting. So there, I see these guys climbing up the walls. You've all seen the pictures. You were
Yeah.
there, and
Yeah.
I said, I yelled at him. I said, "Hey, you morons! There's steps on either side. Somebody's going to fall and break their ass." I was actually trying to give them a heads up so they would be okay, right? So one of them actually fell. And I don't know what he
Mhm.
broke, but he broke something. And there
Yeah.
were like 6 of them that came running after me, at me, and they were
Mhm.
threatening to kick my ass. And I'm going, "Why? I was trying to warn you, you dumbass. Take the
Yeah.
stairs." So as they're coming up, I said, "Hey, wait a second." And that's when I pulled out my White House press pass that I that I beat Donald Trump 3 times in court to keep, and said,
Hello.
"I'm with Playboy. I'm not the same as the rest of the press." And this one guy goes, "Whoa!" And he stops and he walks up to me. He goes, "Really, Playboy?" And he actually sniffed my tags, like, yeah. He looks at me, and goes, "Play, can you get me into the mansion?"
They want to get into the mansion. See?
I said, "Yeah, sure, not a problem." And he turns around to his guys and he goes, "Okay, fellas, nothing to see here. Let's go." And they
Let's
took off. He didn't even give me his name. I would have got it.
Unbelievable.
So
Unbelievable.
I watched that, and that was, but I watched people get beaten, and I was watching
Yeah.
people, and I'm trying to help as much as I can, and I knew I knew police officers on the force.
Yeah.
I knew the members of the DC and the Virginia police forces that had come
Yeah.
to help out Montgomery County. And I tell you, I was shocked. I had never seen, and I have, Harry, I've covered,
Yeah.
I remember talking to a friend and I said, I've covered wars.
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
in wars and in conflict zones, many of them, probably 8 or 10 of them. And I looked at him and I said, "I've never felt more unsafe than I do at this moment because
Mm.
you didn't know who
What?
was gonna
Yeah.
come after you. Your head was on a swivel constantly." And I'm watching people and they're coming out, "I shit in Pelosi's office," and they were proud of that. And
Proud
I'm
of
going,
it.
this is it just defiled democracy.
Yeah.
It was and to this day, I can't get, and the fact that he pardoned all of those, and they're now probably part of ICE. They're the ones that are, the Proud Boys are the ones probably rappelling out of the helicopters.
Yeah.
It's just a complete inversion of what this country is supposed to be about. It hurt me to my very core because I grew up as you did, believing in democracy, believing that while we didn't live up to our ideals, we were trying to live up to our ideals. It
Yeah.
was always progress was not considered a bad word.
Yeah.
Today, it's retrograde, and by God, they're not even denying it anymore. You've
It
got
gets there
Elon
now.
Musk doing the Hitler salute. You've got,
Yeah.
they're basically pulling innocent people out and beating the crap out of them, and they're threatening the press. And this is my lane. If you're gonna fucking come into my lane and threaten me, you better bring it, pal, because I'm staying
That's
all
right.
day long and twice on fucking Sunday. So I'm not putting up with that shit. I didn't put up with it the first time. I've sued him again. Mark, as you know, we just sued Donald Trump, and they don't even want me to look at. All right, so we're suing him over the what happened at Mar-a-Lago.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
he took that material back and said he declassified it. Guess what? This is where it gets fun. It becomes public record. So we asked for it. And now just to have my case heard, they want me to pay to play 50 grand just to be heard. And I'm telling you, this guy is scary. I've never seen him so scared. Donald Trump is always scared that people are going to find out he's the grifter that he is. But the
Yeah.
pressure in the last few weeks, combined with his deteriorating mental and physical health, I've never seen Donald more afraid.
Than he is now.
Yep.
Wow. Wow. Well, we got something to obviously you're going to be following it. I'm going to be covering it here. Brian, oh
Let's
yeah.
drink to it. Wait a minute. This is a big one.
Listen, thank you, my friend. Like I love your passion. I love your energy. I love your fight. I love you. And it's been too long
Well, I
since
love you too, brother.
been too long since we've seen each other in person. But definitely we can't wait to catch up with you again
This
and do
week.
that's right. You're going to be in town, so it'll be great to catch up with you. I thank you for coming on. Thank you for your fight. And like you said, uh, we have to fight to get through this. And you know what? Like
Yeah.
you just said, they brought it to your lane, so this is what you're going to get. And I've been there, and I am so glad that to have you in this fight with us. And I say us, and I mean us as democracy
Americans.
loving, freedom loving Americans. And
It's been
that's
10
what.
years of this shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm determined I'm gonna outlast this fucker. I don't care what else happens.
Because
I'm
enough is
outlasting
enough.
him.
Enough is enough. So, well, thank you to my friend Brian Karem. Tell everybody where they can follow you at.
It's on, let's see, Substack. It's Reporter's Notebook with Brian Karem on Substack. Salon, once or twice a week. Our latest column was "I've never seen Donald Trump so scared," which was a bestseller on Salon. And take a look at that. Talk about some of the stuff we talked about today.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the name of the book is called "Free the Press," wherever fine books are sold. In its third printing now, so I'll hold that one up. And then,
All
of
right.
course,
All right.
the name of the podcast is called "Just Ask the Question," wherever fine podcasts are
Wherever
sold.
fine. And obviously, when the documentary comes out, we're going to have a big screening party. We're going to do
Yeah.
it at the Playboy Mansion. Nah, I'm joking.
Hell, hell yeah.
Brian, thank you so much, man. Love you, brother, and keep up
Love
the
you
good
too,
fight, my
man.
friend. Hey, y'all. Thanks for checking out this episode of Pores and Perspectives with Harry Dunn, where we mix honest stories, bold opinions, and real talk about politics, society, and everything in between. Our conversations often delve into issues that can be overwhelming or stressful sometimes, even forcing people to turn to alcohol as a way to cope. If you need something to depend on, let's depend on each other. We believe in open, honest dialogue and supporting each other through tough times. We aim to explore the complexities of political and social issues while acknowledging how they impact our mental health and coping mechanisms. We want to foster understanding and community, sharing stories and perspectives that might resonate with those feeling a little bit overwhelmed or pressured. Join us for candid conversations, fresh perspectives, and a little bit of chaos. Just remember, please, please, please consume your alcohol responsibly and know that you are not alone facing life's challenges. Cheers.